Okay. I told you I was having technical difficulties before, so I'm going to check and make sure that I am on. Um, Let me make sure. I think, I think I'm on. Hold on. Let me refresh. I think I am on right now. Okay. Okay. All right. I believe I am on. So, hey, everybody. All right. Got my microphone? Okay. Boom. All right. Hey, everybody. Hold on. Let me just make sure. So, I'm just making sure. Yeah. I think I am. Okay. So, hey, y'all. Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey everyone, and welcome to the Queen's Compass Live. This is my first live that I'm doing for 2026. How are y'all doing? Okay, so I am going to get out of here so I don't get an echo. Get out just so I'm not echoing in my own ear because that's kind of annoying. All right, y'all. So, like I said, hello everybody. Welcome to the Queen's Compass. This is my first live for 2026. I am your neighborhood luxury travel advisor, CJ, and I am also your cruise and travel bestie. And tonight we're going to be kicking off the first cruise live for 2026. It's talking about international rules, the new international travel rules. So if you're planning a cruise internationally this year or even next year, this is the live for you, and this is something that I really want to talk about. We are, like me personally, I will be going on a international cruise this year. Also doing a couple of river cruises as well. And if you are planning on doing that, even if you haven't even booked it yet, you need to know these rules and regulations because some of the rules have changed. Some of these rules might surprise you just because of the fact that they are not playing over in Europe. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you, they're not playing. Um, like when they had the whole thing in the United States where they were talking about the real ID, and everybody didn't have their real ID last year, so everybody was scrambling to get their real ID and get that done so that they were able to travel even domestically. Um, these are rules that people kick in, and a lot of people don't know that when we did the actual um, the real ID was implemented in 2005, and then what 20 years later or whatever, you know what I'm saying, now they're going to implement it and say, oh, we're not playing now, we really want you guys to do this and implement it. So we had like a 20-year grace period in the United States. Europe is not playing. Europe said, this is what we have. These are the changes that we're making, and there are no grace periods. There are no like if you don't have it or you forgot or you didn't know or you had no idea, they're turning you away. They're turning you away. They're not letting you in. So I just want to make sure that get these things implemented because if you have a good travel advisor that's giving you this information, they're giving you the information to help you be able to travel better, travel confidently, travel protected, and travel prepared. Okay. So I am that girl. I am that one that's going to help you get through international travel like a pro. Okay. So, so like I said, whether you're a first time cruiser or you have cruised multiple times or you have gone, even done international cruises, this is going to be different. This is different because a lot of people don't know these rules are in effect and they will be in effect, especially by the end of the year. Okay. By later 2026 because they're implementing this. This is not something that's implemented now, like right at this moment. Like if you leave tomorrow, it's not implemented, but you do want to make sure that you got those things in place if you are planning a cruise later this year or next year. Okay, so you don't want to be confused at the port. You don't want to be, like I said, because this applies to anybody going uh, to Europe, whether it's by boat, by plane, bus, whatever it is you're gonna do. So it is what it is. So this is part one of my Queen's Compass series, which is the Queen's Compass series, which is new rules for international travel. So we talk about things that are not necessarily explained clearly to people. You might have heard of the system that I'm going to be talking about tonight. That you need to do it, and then you don't hear anything else. You don't hear how you're supposed to do it. You don't hear it explained the way in a clear way for you to know exactly how to go about doing it. So tonight, I'm going to give you guys a better understanding of what it is that you need to do. And then every week we'll be covering different cruise rules, different hidden fees, cruise hacks, red flags, and just how to avoid any costly mistakes. Because does this cost money to do this? Yes. And then more likely they're inducing some type of fee or imposing a fee for you to be able to travel through Europe. So if you love cruising and you're thinking about booking one soon, make sure you follow me through this series because through the next lives I will be talking about um, things that are specific to each European country, especially European countries that are setting their own rules and regulations, especially for cruisers. Okay, this can apply to ocean cruises. This will apply to river cruises. So that means that no matter what, no matter if one port might allow something that another port might not allow, and this could be all on the same cruise. So you want to make sure that you tune in and you make sure that you tune in and stay hip on all the entry requirements and anything that's changing this year. I'm going to keep you abreast on all of that. Okay, because like I said, some of these destinations are charging additional fees for tourism, especially for cruising, because it is what it is. And that's not always included in your cruise fare. Some people assume that these fees are are associated or they'll be covered in your cruise fare. Not so. Not so. And some of these fees are not even included in your airfare. So you have to just be aware and know, because when you get there and you haven't applied or you haven't done the proper things to get into the country, you will be turned away. You will not be able to get into that country. They will not give you an exception. Will not give you an exception. And you just spent all that money to go over what they say across the pond. That's what they be saying, across the pond. And I'm gonna tell you something else. Travel insurance is not included. Travel insurance does not include that. If you make a mistake and you don't do your proper diligence, what you're supposed to be doing to get to those countries and figure out what you need to do, travel insurance is not going to cover you. No matter how you can have the best travel insurance on the entire planet that will cover just about anything, and you will not get your money back because of the fact that you did not prepare yourself the proper way and you didn't follow the rules. You know what I'm saying? So there's clauses in these things that will make sure that you're not going to get your money back because you are the one that already did that. So like I said, probably throughout the month of January and a little bit of December as well, I have been answering so many questions about cruises that specifically start in the Mediterranean. So cruises that begin in Italy, Spain and other European ports like Greece and Rome, things like that. And so today or tonight, we're going to be talking about those things that most people don't realize they need before they go. So this is especially important if you're flying as well from the US to Europe to board your cruise ship, because that's most likely what an international cruise is that you're leaving from a foreign port, not from a domestic port. So a domestic port is like if you're living in the United States, it's like Miami, Galveston, you know, Port Canaveral, all of those things like that. Those are domestic ports, and most people take cruises that are closed loop cruises that leave from a US port, which is a domestic port if you live in the US, and then it ends and begins in the same country. Okay. But if you do like a transatlantic cruise that starts in the United States and then ends in a foreign port, you would need this. You would need this, what I'm getting ready to talk about. And if you are starting in a foreign port, for instance, Rome, and then you are ending in a US port, which is another transatlantic cruise, then that would also apply because you would actually be flying to the destination and you would actually get, in through customs at the airport, and you would need this information. So, what am I talking about? What? This is not starting until late 2026, like I said, but that's going to come quickly. It's already February. So, I'm just saying. So you'll need something is called the ETIAS system, okay? So it's the European Travel Information and Authorization System. So this is what you would need to apply for before you get and enter into the Schengen zone, which includes Italy, Spain, France, and most European or Mediterranean ports, cruise ports that start at this point. Okay, so like I said, most Mediterranean cruises start in like Greece or Spain, Barcelona, uh, Rome, or the city outside of Rome. I don't know how to say the name of the city outside of Rome. That's why I'm saying outside of Rome. So it starts outside of Rome, but places like this. Okay. So it's an online authorization that you apply for. You apply for it online, and a lot of things are going digital these days. Um, and it's linked to your passport. So what you do is you go in. You go into the website. I'll put up the website later. The website you would go to and you would apply for this ETIS system. Okay, for this authorization. So it's a pre-authorization. You apply before you go, and then it's linked to your passport. Okay, it is not a visa. Okay, it's an authorization that's required for short stays up to 90 days. Okay. So let me go ahead and put up what the Schengen, because a lot of people probably don't know what the Schengen zone is and what countries apply to the Schengen zone. So let me go ahead and put that up. So here we go. So the Schengen area, the Schengen's area countries were the ones that I just mentioned. But you also include Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania. All of these different countries are in the Schengen zone area, which means that you would need to apply for this. Hold on, let me put my glasses on because I can't see nothing. I can see, but I can't see. Okay. So these are the areas in which are considered the Schengen zone area. This is where you would need to apply for the ETIAS. Okay. So if you're planning to cruise from these ports, and there are a lot of these countries do have international ports that cruise out of these ports. So that is these are the countries in which you would come that these are the countries in which are part of that area, because even if you get off, if you're uh, you need a hotel, or you're going to be staying there, you're going to be flying into that area, you need to know what countries you need to do. Okay, so let me go ahead because there are other countries as well. Not so we have non-Schengen countries here that also participate in this system. Okay, and that's Cyprus. Cyprus is a island off the coast of, I believe, Greece, and we also have associated countries that require the ETIAS as well, which is Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, and Switzerland. Okay, so they also need these, uh, and these are countries outside of the EU that accept the ETIAS as well. So these are microstates: Andorra, Monaco, San Marino, and Vatican City all require you to have the ETIAS in order to enter these countries. Okay, so this is very, very important because about the Schengen zone, this is just the core countries here. And these are where most of, like I said, the international cruises, or what they call the Mediterranean cruises. Those Mediterranean cruises leave out of those particular leave or have ports, excuse me, in these particular countries. Okay, so it's very, very. But in order for you to visit any of the other countries that are listed, even if you're not going on a cruise, if you're going there just to visit and you're doing a land, like you're doing a land vacation or whatever, you need this. Okay, so most US citizens traditionally do not need a visa to visit Europe. But like I said, starting in late 2026, you will need something called the European Travel Information Authorization System before you enter. Okay, and this is just to enter into the Schengen zone areas, which include what I just mentioned, what's listed here, what I mentioned, and what I listed. Okay, so the most popular places, of course, are Italy, Spain, and France. But this is for any of them. Well, Greece is pretty popular too now, so it is what it is. Greece is becoming a very popular thing. So, this is an online pre-authorization that you apply for before you go, and it's linked to your passport. Okay, this is not a visa. I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. This is not a visa. It's a pre-authorization or authorization that's required for short stays in Europe for up to 90 days. Okay, so this is expected to start in the fourth quarter of 2026. So that's around like October between October and December. So that's considered the fourth quarter, and that's what they're mentioning. Like I said, no grace period. When they put this into place, it's in place. So if you are having issues and you don't actually apply and do what you need to do, you will be turned away at customs and you will have to go back home, and they will not let you enter the country without this authorization. Okay, so once approved, this authorization lasts and is valid for 3 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. Okay, so if your passport expires in 2 years or a year, you know, then that's when you're that's when the authorization is actually the ETIAS will actually expire when your passport expires, and then you would have to reapply after you receive your new passport. Okay, because your old passport will not apply. It will end. Okay, so it's whichever comes first. So if your passport is at the end of its line, and you want to check that, because of course we always talk about what is considered valid. So your passport is valid up until your expiration date. But if you're actually using your passport to travel, you want to keep up with the fact that your passport when you're traveling is actually not 3 months, but 6 months past the date that you would be traveling. Like when you come back, when you return. So you're talking about 3 months past your return. Okay. So as far as the ETIAS, you'll apply online before you travel on an airline and cruise lines. So the airlines and the cruise lines are going to check this. Okay. So make sure you got it. Make sure you don't lose it. Make sure that when you give, like you want to show it, but you want to make sure that you put this on your phone. Make sure that you print this out. Make sure that you have it at all times, okay? Because if you don't want to lose this, okay? This is something that you need, all right? So even if you go, I showed it to, how did you think I even got in the country? Don't do that. Don't get don't get sassy. Don't be mean. Because that's not your country. You are entering into another country to be, you know what I'm saying, to visit. So if they ask you for that paperwork that they need, you give it to them. You let them, and you make copies. You make sure that you have copies of this either in hard form and on your phone, like a screenshot, something that you can get to where you're not trying to connect to the Wi-Fi or have a connection or say, oh, my phone doesn't work here. My phone doesn't work out of the country. I can't get to it. Screenshot it, put it in your photos, make sure that it's somewhere where you can attain it, whether you're offline or online. Okay. So this is very, very important because, like I said, they're not going to play with this. So, like I just said, the cruise lines will check, the airline's going to check. Okay. And of course, there is a fee when you sign up. So, when you apply online, the fee will be around 20 euros, which is roughly $23 US for most adults. If you are a child under 18 years old, you do not need to pay. You need the actual authorization. So everybody needs to sign up individually. You can't sign up as a family. You can't group everybody together. Everybody needs to sign up as an individual, including your children. Okay. So if you have children that are under the age of 17, then they need that are 17 and younger, sorry, that are 17 and younger, then they do not need, the only thing that they don't need to do is pay for their authorization. So you don't have to pay for their authorization, there's no fee, but they do need an authorization. And it does need to be filled out individually for each one because each one is connected to, like I was talking about earlier, is connected to your passport. Okay. So because it's connected to your passport, that's why you would need to do it individually. So you can't do it as a group, um, and you can't group it together. Oh, we're a family. Da 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 da. None of that's gonna fly. Okay, so you can save money or whatever. And that's like I said, for every adult, it's about 20 euros. Okay, now bonus if you are 70 years and older. You also do not need to pay the fee. You can apply, and you're just like a child. You would apply, and then you wouldn't have to pay the fee if you were 70 years and older. So anybody who is 17 and below, or 70 and older, do not have to pay, but you do have to apply. Everyone has to apply. Okay, so this is my tip to you guys. Make sure you guys apply at least 1 to 2 months before your trip, okay? So you don't have to rush. And sometimes um, and you're not doing it at the last minute. Now, listening to other people is not going to help you, okay? Listening to other people say, oh, well, girl, I applied and I got it right away. That's not you. That's not you. So you don't know if yours is going to actually go through right away. So sometimes, well, in most cases, when you do apply, it does happen within 24 hours or within the time frame. Sometimes it gets approved right away. It all varies from person to person. But you want to make sure that you have that ready to go. Don't wait until a week before you have to go or a couple days before you have to go and be like, oh, I heard that, you know, it's gonna, I'm gonna get it beforehand. It doesn't matter. It lasts for 3 years. So get it when you get it. Get it when you need it. Get it. And if you've already booked your cruise, get it now. Apply now. Because it's in, like, you can apply for it. It's just not in effect right now. But it will, if it's going to be in effect. And when it's in effect, you're gonna need it. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how much of a rush. Do you see how much of a rush it was when we went and they said, "Oh, okay," and back in 2025, when they said, "Hey, you can't even fly domestically without a real ID," and the 70 plus thousand, 100,000 people or whatever who did not have their real ID were rushing to get their real ID, and that caused a backup in the system. You don't want to deal with that. You don't know what type of, what I'm saying? Because this is going to be something that's a lot of people that travel to Europe yearly. So these people are going to, individuals are going to be applying, and that system, you don't know how cramped that system is going to be. That's why they're telling you to do it now. That's why they're telling you to do it in advance so that you don't have that rush. Because because cruising season for the Mediterranean is usually around that time. It's really hot at that time, around, like I said, October to December, things like that. That's a rush season. So you don't want to sit there and rush any of that and be scrambling. So if you know that you're going to be traveling at the in 2026 or 2027, because a lot of us have our cruises already booked for 2027. This girl right here, we got I got 2027. When 2028 come out, I'm gonna have 2028 ready too. Anywho, so um for that reason, you want to make sure that you know what port and what destination you're going to, and then make sure that you have all of those things put together. Okay, so like I was saying before, digital requirements are happening all over the world. Okay, it's just another change that's happening where there's digital travel documents that are needed. If you go to any of the islands, the Caribbean islands and things like that, sometimes you need um, digital digital systems, or you have to sign up digitally for a visa, for entry. Everybody has these digital entry requirements that are um, coming to be, where you need these QR codes, you need to fill out an online form, you need advanced registrations, and you got to enter these into the system and show these when you actually get to customs. And this is at the airport. This is at your cruise port. They're coming down hard on these cruise lines, because these cruise lines are being a little more lax. But like I said, they cracking down. They cracking down. So I'm just saying, you don't want to be left at the port. You don't want to be left at standing at customs, having to turn around and get back on the plane and go back home. And like I said, like I was saying before, insurance does not cover that. Insurance does not cover the fact that you didn't do what you were supposed to do, and you didn't do your due diligence to do that. Okay, so if you wait till the last minute, you could delay your boarding, you could delay your port entry, and that is not something that you want to do. I've always given the advice to anybody who's going on a cruise, to always get there 24 hours at least before you have to get on that ship. Do not travel the day of. If you travel the day of, you will almost always miss your port. Almost always. They're not gonna hold that ship for you. They're closing that ship. They have a schedule, and they have to stick to it, because if they leave late, they get back late. They have to catch up. They have to do stuff. They have to rush. They're not gonna do any of that. So they're going to leave you if you don't get there on time. Okay. So let's recap. I was talking about. We're just gonna recap some rules and regulations that you just have to do on a regular basis anyway. So one of those is your passport. Please, please, please make sure that your passport is 6 months out when you travel, okay? Most most people or most ports or most, customs entries into the country are not gonna accept your passport if it's not 6 months out. If you're at least 6 months out, okay? Because if your passport ends while you're in their country, that is that's fees, that's fines, um, that's possible even being detained because it's it's against the rules. It's damn near against the law. You're not supposed to do that. So make sure that your passport is valid for at least 6 months after your travel dates, after you come back, after your return. Not 6 months from the time you leave or the time you get there, 6 months from the time you're supposed to come back. Okay? Number 2, your passport must be in good condition. Make sure that your passport is not bent up. It's not trash. It doesn't have spills on it. It doesn't look like your dog ate it. It doesn't look like you've been chewing on it or using it as a toothpick. It's not dirty. It's not, like you have to take care of your passport like you take care of anything else, like you take care of your birth certificate, like you take care of a very important document. Make sure that that document is in pristine condition because if it spills on it, if it's something that they can't read, because they look at all of these things. They're looking at your passport, they're looking at the places you've been, they're looking at other places that, looking at your passport stamps. Sometimes they look through your whole passport. It depends on who you get. I've had an individual come to get my passport at customs, and he went through the entire book to see where I had been and and all of that stuff. Okay, so some airlines and customs officers will refuse your passport if it's damaged. Okay, a lot of people don't know that, but they will refuse your passport. They will refuse you entry. They will refuse it. And this could be you coming back in, or this could be you going out. You could have went out to the other country. They took it, and then you come back, and the U.S. say, what's wrong with your passport? They will detain you because it just throws up red flags. I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? It depends on who you get, but you don't want to give nobody a reason. You don't want to give anybody a reason. Okay? So, if your passport is expiring soon, renew it well in advance so you don't have to pay expediting fees. There we go. Expediting fees. So you don't have to worry about, is my passport going to come on time? Do I have to go here to an office or whatever? Just don't do it. Don't overlook the fact. Make sure you keep up with how when your passport does expire. And if you travel a lot, you more likely are going to do this. Okay, so this kind of ties into the ETIAS too, because if your passport expires, your ETIAS your ETIAS authorization expires too, like I was telling you about earlier. Okay, so it just is what it is. Okay, so the 90-day rule. There is a 90-day rule with the Schengen zone. Okay, so once you enter the Schengen area, Italy is part of it. So you got Italy and France, and I got the countries sitting up here, right? And these countries are allowing you to stay there for up to 90 days in any 180-day period. So even if you're cruising around Europe and you exceed this time, you can get in trouble with the border authorities because you are there too long. Okay. So just make sure that you know that you only have 90 days, up to 90 days within a 180-day period to stay in the country without them red flagging you and trying to figure out where the heck you at. Okay. So it does not matter. The Schengen area or the Schengen zone is all one thing. Okay. especially when you're traveling there. So if you go to France and then you go to Italy, it doesn't start over. It doesn't say, "Oh, well, we start at day 1." No, it starts whatever if you were in France for 30 days and then you go to Italy, that's day 31, and then it keeps going. And this is within a 30-day this is within a 180-day period. So you only have 90 days, so that you are allowed to stay up to 90 days in a 180-day period. Okay? So make sure that if you're traveling Europe, if you're backpacking, if you're taking multiple cruises, oh, I'm taking a ocean cruise and then I'm gonna take a 20-day, a 21-day river cruise and I'm taking a 30, a 21-day um that make sure you know that all of that applies. All of that applies. Unless you go outside of the Schengen area and then you come back in, then you start over. Okay, that is the only way that you will be able to start over. But if you go from one country to another, all of them are within the Schengen zone. You are not starting over. You're just continuing on. Doesn't matter if you're going been to France, you're going to, oh, I'm in France, now I'm in Greece, now I'm in Italy, now I'm in, you know what I'm saying? None of that matters. It's just going to keep the clock still ticking. The clock is still ticking, and you will be detained, or you can be possibly detained by the border authorities for staying longer than you're supposed to. So if your itinerary is crossing borders and you're in Europe for more than 3 months before returning back outside of the Schengen zone, or stateside if you're the US, if you're from the US, this matters. So so that's your entry and exit. Okay, so that's something that has already started. The Schengen That's already been the 90 180-day rule has started. That's already been in place, and that's been in place for at least a couple of years now. So uh, your your passport will be electronically recorded when you enter, and then they might even take your fingerprints and a photo for the first time that you actually enter if you've never been there before. And then passport stamping is going away, or it has went away as far as late 2025. So passport stamping is going away, and it's more so everything's electronically recorded. Okay, and so this helps them to enforce the 90 180-day rule, because everything, like I said, is electronic. Okay, so if they're not doing the passport stamping anymore, that's why they have like I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the changes that are in the passport itself. I think the passport has like a little chip in it or something now. It's really very fancy and all, like whatever. So I'm just telling you this separate from the ITIAS part, because both of them are new European travel requirements that are going on right now. So this one, the 90 and 180-day rule, is different from the ITIAS. But it does apply. Like I said, it all comes together in one big something something. You know what I mean? So other than that, um, let me go ahead and put up this here, because I want to reiterate what countries need to have or apply for the ITIAS before they go. Okay, so the countries, of course, United States is right on top here. Okay, we got Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, and then anybody who's traveling from Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Australia, New Zealand. These are all countries, and there's also some Caribbean countries as well, and even some Eastern European and Middle East countries that all have to apply for this ITIAS before they actually enter into the Schengen zone. So, and this all applies to, like I said, this applies to all of these countries here. And then, of course, I showed you guys, I had the countries up already as far as what countries um, are in the Schengen zone. And then there were some that were outside of that Schengen zone as well. that also because they're part of the EU or they're not part of the EU, but they're kind of part of something, blah, 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 whatever, however, you just got to know what countries that you have to have this authorization for. Okay. So I think I've hit a lot of the big things here. Um, I just wanted to also give you guys a reminder about because people are not reminded about this stuff enough. So I want to talk about things that you're going to need at Border Patrol. So, of course, the ITIAS is needed at Border Patrol, especially if you're going to be leaving later this year. 2026, you're going to have that ready, okay? I did tell you to make sure that you make copies of everything. Make paper copies of what you need. Make paper copy of your passport. Make a paper copy, do a paper copy of your ITIAS. Do a paper copy of any other paperwork that you're going to need, okay? Your itinerary for when you're in Europe. If you have a cruise going on, print out your cruise itinerary, print out your cruise, you know, uh, data, everything that's on that database, your numbers, like everything that you're going to need. You might need authorization numbers or booking numbers or whatever, itineraries. All of those things need to be printed out in hard form just in case. And then also make sure that you put that in your phone as well so that you have it ready so that you're able to get to it even if you don't have that stuff, ready already. Okay. So what they need at Border Patrol is your ITIS. They're also going to need a lot of people do not know this. Okay. But you need to have a return flight ticket home. I know people try to save money by getting a one-way ticket and then being like, "Oh, I'm just gonna explore Europe and I'm gonna go back whenever." I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna stay within my zone and do this, and that. You can actually get turned away if you do not have a return ticket home. Because usually, if you've traveled overseas or traveled anywhere, you know that they're gonna say, "Oh, what are you here for? What are you here for? Oh, I'm here for leisure. I'm here to vacation. I'm just taking a vacation. Oh, okay. Well, how long are you staying? Oh, I'm staying here for 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Do you have some ask you and some don't. But if you do not have a return flight home, that is a boop, red flag that you may not be leaving when you're supposed to leave. And sometimes they do pull you to the side or tell you that you need. It depends on who you get. But like I said, why give them a reason? Just do whatever you need to do. So if you have a one-way ticket because you're trying to save money and you're saying, "Oh, well, I can probably get me a better ticket if I apply for the ticket when I get into that country and then pay for the ticket there." It's a good idea, but it's also a red flag for a lot of border patrol. You know, so make sure you have a return flight home, okay? Um, or to have a cruise ticket back to the US. Because some people take those transatlantic crossings, and when they do that, they will begin in a foreign port and then end at a US port or end at the port that takes them home. Okay. So if you have one of those particular type of sailings, then you just need proof of that sailing. So that's where that paper copy comes in handy, because you don't want to be sitting there searching through your phone trying to find, you know, whatever, or say, "Oh, I need internet. I need to hook on to a Wi-Fi or something, something, something." Okay. So, travel insurance. My next thing is travel insurance. Travel insurance is not usually required. It's not required for anything, for any of the things, but it's important to have. Okay. Me personally, I would prefer that people do a yearly plan because a yearly plan is more cost effective, especially if you're taking more than one trip a year. Okay. If you're taking two trips, you're going to be spending at least $300 just for you or your family to travel under travel insurance. And that travel insurance is going to be basic. It is not going to be comprehensive. It is not going to be something that's going to be that where you're going to be able to um, use that later on. And you're paying premium prices for it because it's for convenience. So let's not pay for convenience. Let's pay like we know what we're doing, like we know what we're talking about, like we know what we want to do, because that's where it comes in. Okay, so but many European healthcare systems now, because a lot of these insurance plans do include healthcare. Something happens while you're overseas, you want to make sure that you're covered because your U.S. Uh, healthcare plan does not apply. Okay, so many European healthcare systems are expensive, okay, if you don't have any coverage at all. And this could be something as simple as, oh, I just twisted my knee, or I just did this, or my ankle hurt, or I'm cold, or I got the flu, or I don't feel good, whatever. It could be anything. I got a stomach bug, I got food poisoning, whatever. So many things can happen when you're overseas because you're eating different foods, you're doing things that you usually wouldn't do. So these are things that you need to apply, so travel insurance is important, and having copies, even once you get your travel insurance, having copies of those documents is very, very important. So keeping, like I said, cruise tickets and insurance info, all of those things. Okay. Next thing I think is one of the most important: currency. Make sure that you bring cash. Do not do not depend on your cards. Now, I've made this mistake many, many times where I have went overseas or went to different countries and just didn't bring enough cash. Okay? I think almost every time. And I've always, if it wasn't for my husband, I would probably be stuck. I would be stuck. I would be stuck without having cash money on me or spending my cash on unnecessary things where I don't have cash for something that's important. Okay. So in Europe, we're talking about Europe right now. So we're talking about Europe. Euros should be in your wallet. Okay. Euros, because they don't take any other currency. They don't take US dollar. They don't take none of that. They don't want that. So switch over your currency to euros before you leave. If you have a good travel advisor or somebody that you know who knows where to get good rates on currency exchange, do that. Sometimes even your bank will give you a very good currency exchange rate if you do it before you actually leave. Okay, so make sure that you have currency on you in case something happens. This is more so for emergencies. I wouldn't use the cash for miscellaneous stuff, um, maybe tipping a little bit or something like that. Maybe so, maybe I don't know. Because if you're going on a cruise, the cruise will take US dollars. It will take that. But when you go out into the on the ports of call, they take euros only. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have some money in your wallet, you have some cash on you in case you run into issues. The issues that I ran into personally was that my card, my debit card, my credit card, whatever, even after I told them, because sometimes you have to call them most of the time and tell them, I'm going to Europe for a week. These are the dates. If you see transactions that are coming from those countries, um, go ahead and accept them. You know what I'm saying? Because they have an exchange rate going on and all that. Oh, my fault. Okay, I had a little technical difficulty again, but they will block purchases that look suspicious. Especially my bank. My bank does that, and a lot of other people's. They look at the stuff like that because they don't know if somebody has your card, somebody obtained it in there from overseas. Okay, so make sure you tell your banking institutions and things like that. But even if I've told my banking institutions and they still block my purchases even once I get there, and then what are you gonna do? You gotta call them. What do? You gotta email them, you gotta contact them, you gotta chat, you gotta do something to be able to get in touch with them. Okay. And if you can't do that, then you have to go and get cash. You have to use your card. You have to go to the ATM. You have to pay that huge exchange rate coming out of the ATM machine. And that's just not proper. So these are things that have happened to me where it's like, oh, we only use this type of card, or we don't accept Discover, or we don't accept American Express, or we don't accept MasterCard, we only accept Visa or whatever. You have to think about all of these things because these are things that happen. This is real life. This is things that happen for real, for real. And if you don't have the money to pay for it, you don't get it. And this might be something important that you may need. This might not even just be a dress or a piece of jewelry or a souvenir. This might be, oh, I have to go and pay for my luggage storage to get my luggage back, because I paid somebody to watch my luggage at a particular hotel. This might be a hotel stay. Go to the hotel and you pay, and you don't pay for it right away. That's another thing. Pay for your hotel before you go, especially if you're going overseas. Do not do not to prepay for your hotel. Do not pay for your hotel once you get there, because your card may not work there. They might not accept whatever currency, or not currency, but whatever way that you want to pay. You can't be like, hey, you take Apple Pay? No, they might not take Apple Pay because this is an old boutique hotel, or this is a hotel that doesn't go off of that, whatever. They have different systems there that are for payment. They have different payment systems. So you have to respect their payment systems and do it in that way. So if you prepay for your hotel, you don't have to worry about any of that. But you do want to make sure that you have cash, because sometimes they might charge a deposit and say, hey, we need $150, 150 euro deposit, 120 euro deposit. Have that cash ready if your card doesn't work, and say, hey, here, I have the 150 euros that you could just put and just give it back to me when you know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to do, it might be some things you just have to negotiate and you have to do, but you want to make sure that nothing is causing your vacation or your time overseas to be terrible. Okay. Now, we were talking about phone calls that we would probably have to make if we were out of town or out of the country. International phone plans are worth it. Okay. Please get an international phone plan, or call your phone company or your service provider to see what type of international phone plans, or how does it work in different countries. Because usually if you're traveling through Europe, you're not just staying in one spot. You're going to other countries. You're crossing borders, like sometimes multiple times a day. Okay. So if you're doing that, you need to make sure that your phone is going to work when you're out there, because Wi-Fi ain't gonna cut it. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Wi-Fi is spotty. Wi-Fi calling, I mean, probably once you're in your hotel, if you're just spending time in your hotel, fine. And they still have phones in the room, so you can just make phone calls in the hotel. But if you're out and about and you need to get in touch, and you need to get a driver service, you need to be able to move and shake when you're out there. So an international plan is definitely worth it. If you don't want to if your international plan is not the business, it's not something that you want to mess with because it's a little bit too expensive, because they charge per minute or per this or whatever, put your phone on airplane mode so that it doesn't roam. Because as soon as it connects to any type of tower, it's going to start charging you. If somebody calls you or somebody texts you, they're going to start charging you for texts that you're getting. Not texts that you're sending, but texts that you're getting and receiving, phone calls that you're receiving and not even answering. They're going to charge you for a minute. So if somebody just keeps calling, you're going to be like, oh no, you want to put the phone and play airplane mode and stop playing. But what I would suggest is get a global SIM card. Global SIM card is a SIM card that you can you can put into your phone, and that actual global SIM card will work all over. Okay, so it'll hook to the tower, and then it will charge you per, you know, per the phone plan that you have on your global SIM card for that particular country. So you would choose on your global SIM card, you would choose what country you're in, and then you would get charged per wherever country or zone you're in because of the tower that you're going to be connecting to when you get to that country. So it just helps save money. It's not going to eliminate the money, it's just going to save you the money. Okay? 'Cause it's going to save you more money doing it that way than you going home and you actually having like 300, $400 bill, $1,000 bill because you didn't realize that your phone was on and it was roaming. So it's definitely worth it. Okay. I'm going to close out here. I think I have touched on a lot of things tonight. This has been um, very informative, I think, as far as my first one for the year, because I just wanted to make sure that I got everything. And I'm about 5 minutes away from an hour here. So I only want to stay on for about an hour and just give you guys just a play on how to be able to travel overseas, especially places like Europe, especially if you want to go on a cruise and things like that, and show you that there's more to it than just booking the cruise and calling it a day. Because most of these cruise lines are not going to give you the breakdown of what you need to do in order to get to them. They're just going to sell you the ticket. They're just going to sell you the room, the cabin, the whatever, and tell you everything's going to be great. And it won't be if you don't take the right steps and do what you need to do. So planning ahead isn't just smart, it's essential. Okay? So this ITIAS is coming, it's not stopping, and even if it's not required right now, it is something that you will need to do beforehand. And if you're already prepared for your Mediterranean cruise, um, from Rome to Barcelona to Greece to anywhere, you want to have everything in place before you book your flight. Okay? So you want to book, like I said, the flight is always the last thing that you want to do, but it's all, like I said, you want to make sure that of course, it is what it is. You get your flight, it's Latin, but it's just do that last. You don't want to get your flight and then do that, but I don't know. Some people, I don't know if people work backwards or not, but that's kind of backwards to work it that way anyway. But make sure that that's the last thing you do. I'm saying even get your ITIAS before you get your flight, because you want to make sure that you are accepted and that you don't have to make any other changes, because if you have to change your flight, it's going to cost you. That's going to be that's going to be expensive to have to change your flight because of the fact, or move anything else around because you're not accepted or because it took a little bit longer. Then give them at least 30 days to do what they have to do. If they do it right away, great, yay, you are the sneak, like you got it, let's go, you're ready and you already got it in place. But if you do not, if they need extra time for your information because you have a new passport, because you've never been there before, you've never been to Europe before, whatever, like this is something that you don't know what's going to happen. So make sure you, like I said, and before you actually apply for the ITIAS, make sure you have checked your passport to make sure that it is 6 months out at least. Okay? And also keep in mind that if you are flying into another country before you fly to the destination in which you're going to, make sure you have the proper entry requirements to get into that country as well. Because even if you're just sitting there at there for a layover, you can actually leave and go and do whatever you want to do. You're entering that country regardless. You're on their grounds. You're on you're on their land. So you have to make sure that you have the entry requirements to get into that country as well. Okay? So just pay attention to where you're laying over, what their entry requirements are, because you have to do that too. And like I said, just make sure that you have a great and wonderful travel advisor that's going to be able to help you get through this and make sure that you are traveling with ease. Okay. All right. So, um, that is, I believe that's pretty much it. I think I recapped everything that I wanted to recap. So, thank you guys for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. I really like, you know what I'm saying? I'm I'll be back next week. So next week we'll be talking about hidden cruise fees that you didn't budget for. And trust me, this is going to be an eye opener. Okay, so same time, same place, 5 o'clock. Like I said, next time I ain't gonna have no technical difficulties because I'm gonna have this down packed smacked. Okay, and then later this month we're also gonna be doing like cruise hacks, smart packing. We'll be doing a live Q&A at the end of the month, and things like that. So it's just like just stay tuned, y'all, because I'm dropping gems here. I'm dropping things that is going to make it a heck of a lot easier for you to be able to get through your international travel with ease. Okay, so if you found this helpful, make sure you guys like this live and you share this with your cruise bestie, somebody that you're going to be traveling with, somebody that's just looking into traveling internationally sometime soon. Share this with them and make sure you follow me so you don't miss any of the new episodes that I'll be dropping. Okay, like I said, same time, same day of the week, same time. So I'll be back on February 12th at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. Central Time. Okay. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments, or you can also DM me and I will check them after the live, and I can even answer those questions on the next live. So thank you for joining me for my first Queen's Compass Live. I got through it, y'all. Yay! Of 2026. Okay. Until next time, y'all. Travel smart, not stressed. I love you.